As we're working with a ES6, we also have an option of using the default parameters. Now, we touched on them briefly a few videos ago, but however, let's explore them in a further detail. Now, first things first, let's create a constructor function. And for the constructor function, the name is going to be student. Now, we're going to be using this constructor function to create new instances of student. And there's going to be three parameters: name parameter, last name parameter, and the third one is going to be school parameter. Then within the properties, we're going to have this dot name is going to be equal to name. And now we just want to copy and paste this and change the values around. So the last name property is going to be looking for a parameter of last name, and the school one is going to be looking for the school. So very straightforward. We have three properties and we have three parameters. Now let's create a few instances. So const John. Now this is going to be the first instance, and this is going to be equal to new student. And here we're going to pass the parameters already as an argument. So here this is going to be John, then Sanders, and the last one is going to be UCLA. So we're passing a school as a UCLA. So if we're going to do a console log with a John, we'll notice that we have a name, last name, and a school. However, we have an option of just avoiding adding this parameter or argument altogether. So we're going to have a const of Bob and new student again. Now for the Bob, we're going to have it as a Bob. Then the last name is going to be Jordan. And then in this case, we're going to say that there's going to be no school. So let's say either we forgot or we're just expecting that the Bob is also going to go to UCLA. So once we save it, however, and if we're going to console log the Bob, what's going to happen for the school, for now, we're going to have a undefined. So we have the property. However, since we didn't pass the argument, it returns us as defined. So in order to fix this, we can use the default parameters. So let's say that we're creating 1,000 students that all go to UCLA. We can just say that school is going to be equal to UCLA. And then as we're running right now the new instance, as we assign it to a Bob, notice that Bob gets right away UCLA, even though we just omitted this argument altogether. And the great news about default parameters is that if we're going to pass the value, we can override this. Now let me show you how it happens. So let's say this is going to be Susie. Also, she's going to be new student. But let's say that her last name is going to be Walters. And for the school, it's not going to be UCLA. And it's going to be Stanford instead. So we can just say Stanford. And once we pass the values, now we get a Susie. However, we still need to console log it. So let's say over here Susie. And sure enough, we have a name of Bob, which is not what we want. So let's do Susie. So this is going to be the name of our student. So she's Susie. The last name is going to be Walters. And we can overwrite the UCLA with a Stanford. So this is how we can work with a default parameters in ES6.